एवेंजर्स का दिख रहा है सर. Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you, ma'am?
Good.
Okay. Shall I start or shall I just wait for 1 minute?
Yeah, we can start, and I need the presentation mode, so I can open the presentation also.
Okay. Okay. Just a minute. Ma'am, I think so. You can do it now. Just have a look to it.
Yeah, just 1 minute. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Uh,
Huh?
okay, ma'am. Let me first welcome you. Then you can start with your presentation.
Sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I, Geeta Anand, on behalf of DLDAV Model School Shalimar Bagh, feel privileged to welcome you all in this session of Infinitum 2020. As said by Swami Vivekanand, take up one idea, make that one idea your life. Think of it, dream of it, live on that idea. Let the brain, muscles, nerves, and every part of your body be full of that idea. And just leave every other idea alone. This is the way to success. A true epitome of this statement, today we have with us Miss Deepthi Berry, and it is my proud privilege to welcome you, ma'am. She is the founder and director of Curious Times. Curious Times builds critical 21st century skills of curiosity, creativity, communication, and collaboration among young children through news content and talent platform. Curious Times is rated as the best news and communication website for young ones. Today, Deepthi ma'am, we enlighten you with us on an interesting topic, demystifying careers in finance. We extend a warm welcome to you, ma'am. So, before we start, I would like to call Manat of class 12 to welcome our esteemed guests. Over to you, Manat.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon to one and all. It's an honor for all of us to have Miss Deepthi Bedi between us who will give us valuable knowledge about commerce and different paths which would help commerce students in future. The great news is that she is an alumni of our school from batch 1991. Also, Deepthi ma'am is an alumni of SRCC and a renowned chartered accountant. Right now, Deepthi ma'am is the Chief Commercial Officer leading commercial strategy and finance at Shearers, a women's growth network, yet another entrepreneurial venture which would empower women. Deepthi ma'am is a passionate learner and is a determined person to explore new ways to solve problems. She also runs Her Rupee Consulting, which provides solutions for women financial empowerment. She is founder and director of Curious Times, which is an e-newspaper where young minds are allowed to get their views printed. Now here presenting a virtual bouquet, but with the real warmth of pleasure and happiness. It would be great opportunity for all of us to meet you in real, but in this time of pandemic, it's great that we are meeting in virtual. Now, ma'am, we are requesting you to take over the stage and give us your wisdom words and glorifies the occasion. Deepthi ma'am, please speak your wisdom words for all of us.
Thank you so much, Mannat, and thank you, Geeta ma'am. And really overwhelmed with Mannat and Geeta ma'am's welcome notes. Yeah, I am very delighted to be here, and I also wish that I was in person meeting all of you people. But I think the good news is like nothing stopped, and we are still meeting. I came last year also, but this is special. Like we are still meeting irrespective of the situations we are in, and we're going to make the best out of it. And the good news is because of the pandemic and all the digital communication methods that we are using, we will also be able to retain what we talk today for a longer period of time, and the content will be available to all of you students for a longer period of time. And I really appreciate the virtual bouquet, and thank you so much, Manna. Thank you, Geeta ma'am.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Whenever we want to start, I can sort of plug in the presentation. We can
Yes,
start.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, great. What I would be right now talking about in specific is careers in finance. But I would like to share a little bit of my personal journey. I took up commerce in 1991 when I was with DLDAV school, and my career started from there. And back then there were very few options, I would say. But now when we look at the landscape, there is a lot of there are a lot of changes that have come up, and those have opened more opportunities for all of you. So what I would sort of take you through is what are the careers options available, because you've taken up commerce now, and we're going to go through that sort of journey. Now, first we will it's just 1 minute. I just want to be able to see how many. I just give me a minute.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Can you see the presentation now? No.
No, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Fair enough. So, I, yeah. Actually, I'm not able, when I'm presenting it, I'm not able to see how many students are there. So I'm not able to make a eye contact. So, so here is what, I wanted to share, like, somebody, I don't know what are the reasons of so many of you to take up commerce, right? So the normal reasons that we come across is like, somebody saying I did not like science and humanities when I was studying in my 10th grade, so I'm taking up commerce. And some people would come up and say, it's not, science is not good enough, humanities has no scope, so that's why I took up commerce. Now, there would be very few who say, I wanted to become this, so therefore I took up commerce. So, I, can students also speak or interact? Like, can they raise hand? Like,
Yes,
why did they?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, how many of you took up commerce because you wanted to be somebody in that space, or you actually took it up because you did not like other two options that were there?
Yes, students. Yes, beta.
Yeah.
I took commerce.
Yes, Tanvi. You want to say something, beta?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I took commerce because I was always attracted towards the business stream,
Okay. Very good.
entrepreneurship, and all this things.
Very good. Very good. So great. At least I got one audience to speak. So that's nice, Tanvi. So the thing is, like, it's we take up, we could have taken up commerce for specific goals or what we wanted to do. Out here, kind of you wanted to take up business management, and so no matter whatever be the case, I think what's important is that it does not matter like why you took up commerce, because I think in today's context, there are tremendous amount of opportunities, whatever were your reasons or drivers to take. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at whatever opportunities that exist for commerce students. So, this is something I would like to tell you from my experience, that you are in grade 11 or 12, right? And if you want to take up, you're able to see the presentation, right? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yeah, so whatever you would
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
do, you have to look at, you have to dream long term. Like, you may think, I want to be this or that, right? You have to take a long term view of what you want to do. But at the same time, it's very important that you start planning in short term, right? What are my next 3 years goals or 5 year goals? And then for me to do something in next 15-20 years, these are my, like, this I break down into three years goals, that this is how I will plan my career, and we'll just start stepping into it and start doing it. Some good things will happen, some things will not happen, so we are going to take like short span and we plan like that. So here is like, you will find most of this information is available on internet also. But like, obviously, if I'm here, I'm just sort of, tell you a few things, a few degrees. And this is just a snapshot of what kind of degrees that are there, specialist degrees or general degrees. There's bachelor's in commerce. You can do bachelor's in statistics, economics, accounting, marketing, bachelor's in business administration. So these are some of the bachelor's degrees that you can undertake once you have done your 12th standard, right? Then you can plan for doing professional degrees. Some of them can start after 12th, but some of them will start after you attain a certain age, or some of them require you to be bachelor's before your professional degree kicks in, right? So chartered accountancy, is a well-known degree in India. Cost and management accounting is also another well-known degree. It was earlier called cost and works accountant.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, hi.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, hi.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good
Yes,
morning.
Ma'am, the bachelor's degree that you are tell, it is a academical degree or professional degree?
These are academic degrees, but it's why I've written it under professional degrees. Is it's a degree, right? It's a stepping stone to a profession. So it's a degree. You may or may not. Its application becomes limited, but it's a degree, right?
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
beta, let ma'am finish, then you can ask the questions. ठीक है बेटा?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm see in some of these when we say bachelor's, some of these degrees will start after your 12th grade, right? And those are 3-year or 4-year programs after that. And some of the programs which are also called professional degrees, we call them professional, but then they can start after graduation also. Some of the international degrees, now we have the certified public accountant or ACCA's accountant. These are US and UK degrees which are equivalent of a chartered accounting degree in India, right? So these options are, I just listed the options for you to understand that, there's like, the landscape is that much bigger. And obviously you can go Google and read more basic requirements under each. But this is the degrees, or these are the professional degrees or academic degrees landscape, as you would want to call it. Then there's a company secretary degree. Then there is bachelor's and master's in law. Right now, for example, bachelor's degree in law, you may actually call it a professional degree, but it gives you a bachelor's only, right? So this is again a stream. I'm just trying to put the various streams and degrees. Then you get degrees around certified financial analyst. This is a very popular degree as far as the US is concerned. In India, it's a new degree. You have to still obtain it from outside of India. Then certified financial planners, they are there. This is an international degree. There are Indian versions of this degree available, but yeah, you have to just figure out like what works for you. Then there are professional courses available in stocks and mutual fund management. Then actuarial is a big degree in India as well as internationally, but you have to have a prerequisite qualification of being a graduate before you even take this up, because it's a very advanced degree. Then you have degrees or courses available in fraud and risk management. You have courses in financial modeling and valuations. Then you can do fintech products, right? So this is your landscape. I'm sure I have not covered everything, but still, it has a lot that I could sort of, manage to put in. So we can take the questions later. I just have like a couple of slides only. So this I want to show it, tell you. So like, your what you do after 12th, right? Or for next 4-5 years in terms of acquiring knowledge, understanding, education, right? Leads to certain employment types. Like what will you do? It's a means to a end, right? Now, what are the various ways in which somebody who is making a career in finance can actually do? What could they do, right? So one thing is you can be an entrepreneur, and you can either build or trade in any of these products because you did a graduation or a post graduation or something, right? Now, these are financial products. You would have seen people, working in the mutual fund, stocks, insurance sector. So they can either build the products. Let's say they acquired some detailed understanding of how mutual funds work. So they can actually get degrees around it, and then actually work towards building of those products, working with large corporates. Or they could actually be trading in it as at an individual level, or doing it for other people, right? Then you could be having a family business, but considering that let's say you have a family business, your father studied 25 years back, right? Now let's say you have to grow. You as an individual can now grow the same business in variety of ways, because you have understood now what is you've you're studying today, you have the curriculum, the knowledge, the market understanding of what exists today, and you can use the new tools that you learn over this period of time to strengthen your existing family businesses. Like there is one point that you just sit and you start doing what your dad was doing, right? But there is another point that you learned today's context. You can do marketing of his business, you can do development of his business, you can do tie-ups in his business in the current context, in the way you have learned or you understand. So that is another place where, if you know that, yeah, I have, my family has a certain type of business, I can grow it, then spend the next 3 years learning the trade, strengths of those trades, what those trades mean, what happens internationally in that business, right? And how I can make it big. So you get a good platform to start, but that's how you can increase your thing. Then you bring technology in your existing business, right? So your parents could be doing certain type of business. How can today, with the available tools and technologies, how can you make that business more successful and take it to the next level where you believe that this can be done? So I think that's where I would categorize this whole entrepreneurship, right? Then I think consulting and advisory is another space where a lot of finance people land up in. And that is and that consulting and advisory can be around taxation, audit, law, risk management, actuarial, company secretary, resolution professionals, all of this. So what happens is, like, You would have heard people saying ki I'm in a practice, I'm a CA practicing CA, I'm a practicing lawyer. So none of this is going away as the things are changing. These things are still required. There are lots and lots of opportunities that are that are there in consulting. So people, once you acquire these degrees, because they are professional degrees where your attest function, like you stamped something, it leads to something else, right? You are a chartered accountant and you stamped on somebody's balance sheet, then it means that this is a valid, authentic balance sheet, right? So when you become a valuation consultant and you are valuing, let's say, businesses, or you are valuing in real estate, or you could be valuing anything, as a valuer, you have a stamp to make, you have an attest function to do, so your degree and your profession is valuable. So those are some of the places where people develop their professions, right? Then we have corporate jobs, and corporate jobs, just like what we do in consulting and advisory, there is an endless list in corporate jobs, all the same things. You can join big corporates, large corporates, you could be doing accounting over there, taxes, laws, you will be given a job or a portfolio to manage over there, and you will be doing all the associated all that is associated. What we saw in consulting, you can do it in large corporates as an employee of the company. So short term projects, and I specially mentioned it in the deck which we are sharing with you, is because what's happening is, like, you will see sometimes we are not sure of what we want to do, right? So we got to take up some short term projects. Sometimes we ourselves are in a career stage where we feel that, okay, I am studying but I can do this, right? So those moments will come. There are so many people who take career breaks, or they cannot go to work for some reason. So there is, in accounting and finance domain, you can also get a lot of short term projects to complete. So in all the fields that we talked about, right, taxes, law, risk management, setting up processes for people, to the extent of data entry, or to the extent of as big as resource planning, secretarial work, there are short term projects available in all of these. And there is a flexibility that comes in your work when you are actually you doing short term projects. Then the last options that we have seen are always pervasive, are government jobs, right? So the government jobs are something you kind of are there. There are government jobs in law, in teaching, and civil services will give you a lot of jobs which people from commerce background, accounting, BCom, those people can pursue. Even if once you've done professional degrees like CA, law, you could still be in revenue services, civil services, so whole lot of things. But yes, government jobs are rare. So it's very hard to get government jobs. There are a lot less opportunities as government is also privatizing a lot of all the sectors that used to exist like under government are getting privatized. So that frame exists now. We'll have a so I just without underemphasizing on the professional degrees that you got to take after you are clearing your 11th and 12th standard. What I want to also talk about is, like, you going after your 12th standard, you're going to a very vast world, right? Out here you were among 2000, 3000 children, you were studying in a certain school, you are in a familiar environment for 12, 15 years. There's a house near your school, you go to a house, there's a limited circle in which we all operate, right? And this limited circle in your case could be 3000 people, right, at best. Now when we step out and we go out at after our 12th and we actually face the world, you're going to meet, let's say you land up in a college, you're going to meet students who could be from 200 to 300 different schools or colleges, right? Or environments they could be coming from. Some of you may take up degree programs outside of India, so you could be actually meeting people, 30 people from different diverse backgrounds, right? So the point that I'm trying to make is like today you're starting, there are professional degrees, there's something that you want to do big, and those are the requirements of for you to land up into jobs or start your own work. But there are certain skills that are required, because we are now in 2020 and 2021 or 2022, when you guys actually move out to look for opportunities in higher education. There are certain skills which have become very, very important in last 3 to 5 years, and this I'm saying because I have been hiring 100 plus people in a year. I have to hire, right? I meet so many people, we meet so many new organizations, right? So what are those skills which are becoming extremely important, and it is very important to break and demystifying, here I use the word, is like, how do you break that you've taken commerce as a subject and it's a part of the overall individual that you are. It's just a part of what you know in order to do a certain work, but how do you succeed at work? What is that required? And that's what I'm going to take you through when I'm showing you this particular slide. It's a sort of myth that creativity is, let's say, parked for some children in humanity or people who know painting, or that's it's not just that. Creativity actually is, how do you think? It's how do you think innovation in whatever you do. Then how do you think of global? How do you think of larger landscape than what you are at present? And how do you visualize it? Then how do you think when you're doing something, what is sustainability for you? How does it impact the external ecosystem about what I'm trying to do? And challenging assumptions is like challenging the status quo. So I want to tell you something. People would say, like, accounting or commerce or something, everything is so well defined. Think about it, like, there are laws, right? And there are the CA Institute comes up with accounting standards. There are audit procedures, global audit procedures. How does all of this happen? All of this happen because there are some people who think differently, and they think there are assumptions in which we are asked to operate, and then these people are able to think outside of those assumptions, and they challenge those assumptions, and that's creativity. So irrespective of that you're studying economics or you're studying in math or accounting, the minute you are thinking of within your ambit of within your program, you're able to think that, oh, this particular issue in corporate law can cause frauds or can cause misinformation or called mismanagement, right? You are thinking which is not somebody has thought through, and then you could be actually making something to solve that bigger problem. And so the success can come in very vertical manner, doing what you are doing, but at the same time the success also comes when you are able to think differently and look at the problems around you and solve it. Look at global inspirations, like, you've got wonderful thing called internet, right? The same problem that you, let's say, face in India, you can see, okay, how is the world solving it? How is United States solving this problem? What does the law in this country says versus what does it happen? How does it happen in India? So that to your mind, that to you is an answer or a direction. So the way you look at it, that global thinking, demystifying that whole creativity that we are talking about can be brought into your very subject which you can still think like people can say ki, okay, this is like done and dusted thing, it's very easy, but that's where a lot of people have made their mark, because they thought they were thinking it differently. How to do is thinking it very differently, right? Then critical thinking, you would have seen, you get these HOTS, right? Higher order thinking, data gathering, researching, reasoning, and problem solving. Now, irrespective of the fact that we want to be a chartered accountant or we want to be like a company secretary or whatever, right? Our ability to research, gather data, and then work on it is a very important 21st century skill, right? Where you got to do proper, thorough homework of how you're doing it. You got to see, like, okay, you want to put the perspective, like, I have this information, this is how it works out, these are the patterns how it works out. So that whole thinking process and working with data, like getting real data and just not working on hypothesis, and being able to comprehend that data, I think that is what is going to be very critical for you to succeed when you go for your graduation programs, right? And now lots of things are changing with the NEP, and you will see that in your higher education also. So when you go with those things, the best thing for you to succeed, whether it is in your higher education or in your job, is like you start working with data, understand the data that exists, right? And use that data to test things, to reason things, like, okay, if somebody's saying this, or if the data suggests this, but my book says this, then I need to think clearly, like try and solve the problem around it, like why is what happening, right? So that whole logical reasoning and thinking process has to set in, rather than just solving question answers. And I'm really serious at it, whether it's just not going to be that when your higher education comes in. And especially when you work for a job, you are in a day, you are given 10 problems to solve, and it is your ability to reason out things which will lead you, make you successful in that direction. Now I'll come to communication. So so you will, some of you could be applying for international universities. So the smallest thing on the line is like writing essays, right? So how do I write a long essay or short essays? This is just a step to your first higher education degree. But in reality, how do you clearly communicate is very, very important. If you cannot clearly communicate what you want to communicate, it becomes extremely hard for you to succeed. So some people could be really good at creativity, critical thinking, but if they're not able to put it in a form where other people can understand what you're trying to do or say, it will be extremely hard. So bringing that clarity in your communication, to be able to clearly communicate, is a very important skill that you need to develop. And for developing that skill, it's important to learn the tools of communication. There will be like umpteen number of tools available, free tools available on internet. Use it. The biggest thing that you have to do is build your self confidence and start speaking. Some of us think that, okay, I'm not good at English, or I'm not good at one language, I won't be able to say the whole thing in one go or whatever. The answer to that question really is like, make notes, practice in front of the mirror, and actually do it, because there's no other way. But if you're not able to communicate, and this time we're just talking of verbal communication, similarly it goes for the written communication. If you have to make a presentation, then research what's the best way to do that presentation, right? That communication is so important. Everything that you have done, and being a great performer of everything, getting first rank, everything will sit on one side if you get a person who's more confident than you and can speak better than you. that person's even average work can be really glorified, right? So communication skills, I would say that please put a lot of emphasis on your communication skills, in building it, in developing it. Read more, and doesn't matter, just practice more. Like, do any sort of presentation, just pick up your one chapter and stand and say that, okay, if this is what I have to do now, let me put it on a PPT and practice it. And or any other tools, way Canva, there's so many tools, but let me just communicate. Let me just say out. The minute you start doing this activity on things that you know, you will be able to do it of the things that you know, but you have nobody actually, how to communicate it better to them, how to go for an interview, how to write an essay, right? The more you do it, the better you become at it. But it's a very, very important skill that you got to. Effective use of media and technology. So it's very important. We've got excellent tools. Like, I mean, 20 years back when I was studying, I never had these kind of tools, right? So my first computer was on the job. It wasn't at my home. But today, you have information technology, you have tools, you have abundant amount of tools across the globe which are available to you free of cost, right? You got to use those tools effectively. How do you use, and even how to use is all available on internet. It's just that you have to become proficient enough to use these tools to be able to communicate what you want to communicate. Sorry guys, just give me 1 minute. I'll just put my phone on mute. So yeah. Then I think the other thing is collaboration. Unfortunately, all these years, what we've seen is, like, our systems put a lot of emphasis on competition, right? I want to tell you, if you want to be successful, any amount of success, it requires more collaboration than competition. The competition only gets you to, like, an admission. It is not a guarantee to success, because the minute you will leave the inhibitions of learning from one another, learning from somebody else, or you will leave you will partner with people, you will get up and talk to people and say, like, how do I collaborate? The minute you realize that this is not my strength, this is my friend's strength or somebody else's strength, and I need to collaborate, the minute you learn all of that, I think that's the most important, that will become the most important part of your success. Because without people you cannot succeed. You will not, nobody, like, you can get a first rank, but it's of no use if you are not a person who collaborates. You will find that a lot of people who are average, getting average scores or anything, they actually are very good at collaboration, therefore they do well in life. So collaboration, group working is very important. It, as you will, many of you may take up courses which are international courses, right? So acceptance of people, right? We are in India. We have 30, 40 states, right? We have so many different diverse type of people around us. We ourselves do not accept so much diversity. The minute you will go abroad or you study outside of India, you will also have global influences. You will see people coming from Southeast, people coming from Middle East, you will see people coming from Africa. You could be in a college with so many diverse cultures across the world, right? The minute you start accepting diversity, right, that is the time when you will be able to collaborate much more. And you will learn tens of thousands of different things just by purely by moving and accepting different type of people around you. So that's those, I think these skills I wrote because I think as a part of commerce or finance or whatever you want to be in a professional degree, the success thing lies in these points, right? Then I think in current times, it's very important to keep certain core values. And then that core value is continuous learner, that you have to learn continuously. You have to be open-minded. You have to, because whatever we are learning today becomes obsolete in 2 years or 3 years. This pandemic has taught us that, you saw you guys were working and studying in certain format, and there was a 360-degree turn in how you started studying this year, right? So people just had to change in the way they were working till March 2020, right? So which required, even teachers studied, even people who were experts for many many years in certain fields, they studied. So studying, learning continuously is very very important. So I think the biggest value I will tell you is, like, you should keep learning continuously, you should not give up on learning. And even when you become a chartered accountant, there is an important thing, like, the laws are not going to stop. Every time there'll be new thing that will come up, so you have to continue to learn that. Everything you have to keep adding more and more to your it's not resume, it's not degrees, it's but just you have to continue to learn what's happening around the world. So that continuous learning is very important. And I think this is all that I had for today. Now I'm just happy to have questions.
Yes, students. Yes. The very first question, who want to ask better? Jia?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am. It was such a wonderful session. My question is that what are the various jobs are provided to the students of commerce without maths in finance? Because in certain jobs the maths is compulsory with commerce.
No, beta. See, I'll tell you something. It's there is something called your admissions to colleges, and there is another thing called jobs, right? The job people who are giving you a job in accounting, for example, would not want you to have any advanced mathematics, or they will not even ask you whether you studied math in grade 12 or not, right? But the issue is that when you go to BCom honors, right? My assumption is that in BCom honors they would look at, okay, were you without maths or with maths, right? So I think that's the thing. But no jobs, they don't specify it. Like, for example, you want to study law, right? You can do. Let me tell you, you took commerce, right?
Ma'am, yes.
So other than getting admission in IIT, NEET, and BScs and all, you can get admission in any place. You can get admission to any program, right?
Yes, ma'am.
No job says that in 12th you had to have a math to qualify for a job. The jobs can be done without that also. It is just that we ourselves, like, think, and our colleges in India, they mandate mathematics for many of the BCom honors mandate mathematics, but outside of that, from a job perspective, they do not really bother about this.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you,
If
ma'am.
you took a pass course, like, let's say some universities, and don't go by like Delhi University only. Delhi University has very few seats and it's very small for the even Delhi also. So, but then all the other people from other states also come and start using Delhi University. But I want to tell you something. Let's say you do a BCom pass course also, or you take up a course in. There are colleges down south which also give you programs in bachelor's in accounting, right? Let's say they don't demand you math, right? Never
Yes,
your
ma'am.
employer going to say, "Oh, did you take math in 12th or not? Otherwise, don't come for a job." No, no, it doesn't happen.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Next, Sugandh. It was your question, beta.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Ma'am,
afternoon.
ma'am, I wanted to know that which one is better option, accounting or finance?
So it's purely your interest. I Just 1 minute. I would not say that one is better than the other, but it is purely your interest. See, like, accounting is something that, see, both the things have there's not much of a difference. As you go along, you will get a BCom honors only in India, right? India so far, I think with NEP we might get more options and they will make more programs. But when you get those programs, accounting or finance, you actually, let's say, end up doing more or less extension of similar works. But let's say if you do MBA finance and you don't do accounting at all as an education, then you may get opportunities which are, very related to finance and not have accounting. But I won't rate one different from the other.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, next, Kashish.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
My
afternoon.
question is that what are the average placements for finance courses?
Sorry, help me understand your question again.
Ma'am, my question is that what are the placements, average placements for finance courses?
See, so I'll tell you what, if you are doing professional degrees like, CA and company secretary, and people really do not assure you placements. There'll be a campus thing that comes, right? But India has so much population that the institutes and the bodies which are conducting these programs are not MBA and IIT, or similar programs where the campus says that okay, you will get placed, right? In all the courses and programs that we talked about, there is no specific guarantee on placements that happen. I want to understand more of your question, because I am clear. It's really not clear. Like when you say placement, what do you really mean? Which course are you talking about?
Ma'am, like in any finance course.
Okay, wait. We will just go back to what we were looking at. My presentation mode is off now. I can't show presentation. Ma'am, can you just see?
Yes, ma'am, it has just started.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so we are here, right? Now, when you go to bachelor's degree, you will not say that, this percentage of BCom graduates from stats, economics, and all will be definitely getting jobs after finishing their bachelor's degrees, because these colleges are not, see what they do in IIT and all, you still get campus invites from many companies come for campus recruitments in these for these programs also. But saying that you will definitely get a job with this is not something that happens. Now, similarly, I'll say for a chartered accountancy or CMA, companies come for campus hiring of chartered accountancy. Almost everybody will end up getting an offer, right? But then there are so many students who could be, not, let's say, in the main cities, they have still become chartered accountants, they will not get an offer, right? So for us to put a percentage to it is very difficult. At the same time, what I want to emphasize on, let's say, company secretary, CMA, analyst jobs, fraud and risk management, I think it's not that you will get job offers at the outset just because you did a course, right? You have to continuously alongside do short term projects or get associated or intern with people, so that gives the employer a understanding of, now this person is job ready, so I'll give this person an offer. So that percentage which works is in normal parlance, I don't think it's a good indicator of how many people end up with useful jobs. Did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, Aditya, you have raised your hand, beta. Yes, Aditya.
Yes, ma'am. Second.
Yeah, Aditya.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Ma'am, my question is, if one wants to pursue chartered accountancy, what could be the steps so he get in first attempt only, or from a reputed institute? What could be the steps?
Okay, yeah, so I'll tell you. See, you know, chartered accountancy is hard. You know this, when to do, what to do is all available on internet. But I'll tell you something. The thing is, like, just because, let's say, you did not do any internship, right, or articleship, what we call, and you sat at home and just worked on getting clearing in the first attempt, right? What will that mean is, like, it does not assure you of a job, right? And let's say and I'll tell you why. The why is, like, you know how to clear exams, but you go back to my slide on this, right? You have to be ticking some of these boxes to be able to say that, okay, you cleared the exams is one thing, but when they will give you an interview, or you want to be meeting people for a job interview, etc., they are going to look at communication skill, your ability to collaborate, how you have, if you have done internship, then what did you do in your internship, right? They will look for these core values in it. Is this person open minded? Is this person look an aspirer? This person wants to do big in life or not, right? So they will look at these aspects, even despite the fact that you have done you are cleared in first attempt, right? Now people who clear in second or third attempt also, and let's say they tick these boxes very well, right? They are good communicators, they look like people who can easily collaborate, or they come up with some internship or some articleship experience on certain things, they can talk well on certain items, right? uh, they become an easier case for them to accept into the job employment, and not just first attempt. It is good to get clear, like I cleared in first attempt, right? So I also worked, went to Price Waterhouse, I did all that. Those were important things which actually helped my career, I will not deny that. But those are not all the things, because after working for so many years and hiring so many chartered accountants, I must tell you that I will still look for people who aspire, who want to make it big, who have good dreams. Then post that, you have to understand whether this person is going to work hard or not. Was his only objective in life to get CA degree? Uske baad nobody will do your puja, right? Just because you did CA, you have to work hard. So will this person, is the person open minded to learn new things, right? Because the job is not what you studied in the books, it's going to be very different. So these, you have to get yourself, sit peacefully. This presentation will be made available to you. You have to take yourselves on these things. And if, let's say, you are not good at so many things, or you think you have enough time, like you have 5 years to just practice most of these things so that you become good at it, because those things will help you crack your interviews.
Yes.
Anything else,
No, no,
Aditya?
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. Yes, Beta, please switch on your videos. It will be better, and we can have a screenshot also. Yes, Beta, all of you. Okay, Manat? Yes, Beta, your question now.
Ma'am, I have.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
Yes, Arshit, just wait for 1 minute, Beta.
good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon, ma'am.
Ma'am, my question.
Yeah, no problem, Manan, right?
Ma'am, my question is that doing the degree from foreign universities rather than from India, is it make any difference in the uh, job employment in foreign institutes and Indian? Because when we do CPA, it is for 1 year course, and uh, ICSA is for 4 years.
ICCA, ICAI, huh? So, okay, let me just tell you one thing. See, coming to this chartered accountancy and public accounting degrees, right? And law degrees, right? For example, these degrees and these professions are are global also, at the same time very India centric. For example, law is very India centric, right? It's Indian law that we are going to study, but similarly the taxes, like they are very Indian taxes. When you do CPA of the US, actually even within their states, right, they have different taxes. So they will have, let's say 80% of the subjects will be common, but 20% of taxes will be applicable to that very state, because they have state objectives to grow certain things, to grow certain, to look at taxes in a very different way. So therefore, it's not for us to say that if you do it from abroad or India, it will be helpful. Suppose you do CPA, even in the US, your CPA from the state you did that CPA becomes relevant for that state the most. Then if you want to migrate to another state, you have to do additional, you've got to do some tax related papers over there also to practice as a CPA. Similarly, if you do a foreign course and you say, okay, I've done CPA, now I want to take a job in India, right? It's not a problem. I'm telling you, it will not be a problem at all, provided you have to go back to my core 21st century skills slide. You have to tick box those things. People, your knowledge, every piece of knowledge is available on Google. Today, if you have done CPA, somebody tells you, okay, what happens in this kind of thing, you will search and you say, okay, I know India mein kya hota hai, because I have Google, I can internet, I can Google and I can find it from the internet and tell the person. But how confidently can you tell it? All those other skills become very important. You can take the job, but what happens in foreign degrees is that there's a lot of spend that you or your parents or somebody will make into it, right? Then you would say that, okay, now I studied, I paid in dollars, now I need to have my salary also in dollars, right? And you have to think of like getting a job outside of India. Now, considering what's happening in the current scheme of things is that visas are a problem. Each country is struggling with their own unemployment issues, so they don't want foreign workers in their country, right? So there are a lot of problems, but I will not say that the foreign degrees don't hold value in India or Indian degrees don't hold value in abroad. You have to continue to work on your global skills, which are around communication, creative thinking, making something differentiated. That is what you need to think about.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Arshit, you have raised your hand, beta?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, like CA, we can pursue just after 12th. Is that the same case with CPA, or we have to get some degree for the CPA?
So I will have to check and get back to you, but you can also search it. I think there is certain requirements of age as well as basic, I think graduation degrees or certain bit of diplomas, but we'll have to, I can check and get back to you.
Ma'am, I read, but it was written we have to complete 120 credit hours.
Right.
Ma'am, what are credit hours?
This credit hours they are very US centric requirement. From Indian perspective, then what are the minimums that they look for? We will have to see that. So it's not a problem, Arshit. I will find out with with our team, and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Yes, Manat, your question, beta?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. It was a wonderful session. Ma'am, as you talked about NEP and you said that there will be, of course, new opportunities which will be open for all. So, ma'am, I want to ask, like, if I do MBA, that's a 5-year course. So, if I drop out after 3 years or 4 years, ma'am, would a reputed company employ me?
See, I tell you what. Manat, the thing is like, I look at it in this way. If I was to hire somebody, I would say that, okay, why did this student drop out of a 5-year program, right? I will question it like, I'm going to ask you, for example, right? So you will say that I had this XYZ problems at home and I had to drop it. I'll say, okay, fine. Like now this person will actually try to pursue it on the side, right? She will do distance education learning, or she will work for 2 years and she will go back and finish this degree. So it's not about whether a MNC will hire you or somebody else will hire you. It is also what is your plan, right? Your plan, that whether you never want to do it or whether you will do it, it's a matter of chance that right now your circumstances don't allow you to do it. But when the right situation comes after 1 or 2 years, you are going to complete that degree. The fact that you will complete that degree, that confidence gives me, okay, this person is ambitious, she has a situation to solve right now, but she will complete it, right? But the minute I feel that, oh, this person is not completing it because it's too hard for her, then I'll say, okay, fine, I don't have any work for people who are not ready to take the pressures, right? It's like that. And then
Okay, ma'am. And
yeah, sorry.
yeah, and ma'am, one more thing. What's about a company secretary? Ma'am, what's his job? Of
Okay, beta, let's look at it like, companies, India nahi, everywhere have to be run by company law, right? Every country has a corporate companies act, right? In your 12th standard also, you would have learnt about accounting of corporate accounts, and you would have also studied some bit of law, exposure to some bit of laws, right? Now, company secretary is a position, has two type of jobs that emerges. One is their company secretary as a practicing company secretary, and the other is company secretary as a job in the corporates, right? All large companies will have their own company secretary. This person's duty is to ensure the compliances to the corporate laws. Now, in the last 4 5 years, this position, this particular role has become disproportionately important in any company. So there are lots and lots of fines on the companies and the directors for non-compliances to the Companies Act and laws, or any type of regulation. So the company secretary's job really is to actually safeguard the company where he's working with from that. The other part of company secretary is that, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs is there, which actually governs all the companies, right? Now, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs requires every company to do XYZ things, right? Now, Ministry of Corporate Affairs cannot go to all the companies and ensure this is happening. So what they do is they tell them to get a certificate from company secretary, because company secretary is a knowledgeable person in that space. She or he is going to understand in context of what the company has done, what is the law saying, and then they will attest it whether this person is complying or not, and that can be uploaded to the MCA website. So many functions are becoming attest functions for company secretary. So the in the current scenario, and even in the times to come, company secretary's job or role is going to be humongous. It is going to be requirement of, it is going to be a requirement which will become more and more serious only.
okay, thank you, ma'am, for answering my questions.
Yes. Any other question? Manan, you have raised your hand. Ria, do you want to ask any question, beta?
No, ma'am. My doubt is clear.
Okay, beta.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. On behalf of DAV Shalimar Park, we are extremely grateful to our esteemed guest, Mrs. Deepti Berry, for motivating and guiding our students and enlightening us with your knowledge. It was indeed a very informative and interactive session. Thank you, ma'am. Your inspiring presence and words of wisdom will definitely motivate us. We look forward to you again in our next educational fair. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
And I also extend my gratitude to our principal ma'am, Mrs. Reena Rajpal, for organizing such events. And I would also like to thank students for participating. And students, the recording of this session will also be available on school's YouTube channel. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everybody. All of you who asked.
Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you so much to Reena ma'am for having us engage with our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was really very nice session. Thank you.
Thank you.